Hi, I'm Clay McKinney, Developer On-Ramp. This is the Introduction to CSS for Developers course. And this is lesson 1. We're going to talk about what is Developer On-Ramp for a minute. And we're going to talk about what is CSS. And that'll be it for the lesson. So what is Developer On-Ramp? I wrote up this thing. The big idea is that learning to code is hard, but anybody can do it. There are a lot of courses out there that are targeted toward programmers, but far fewer that are written for people who have never written a line of code. I want to make an on-ramp to get you up to speed. So that's the audience. You're learning to code. My first few courses are designed to work together. The goal is to make a super basic business application that reads and writes from a database using web technologies on the front end and Microsoft technologies on the back end. We will do the least we can to accomplish this goal. So we want to do the least the first time through so that you get like a broad overview. All right, let's continue. Doing the least the first time through the stack will give you a basic, practical understanding of what makes up a business application. HTML to structure the web page, CSS to tweak the look and feel of it just a little, JavaScript to validate the data we send the server, and then the courses will continue. So far we've done an introduction to HTML course. Now that course I did 5 hours worth of videos and I covered a good portion of the language. I covered 95% of all the HTML tags I've ever used as a programmer. And there's a lot of HTML left, I guess, and I showed you where to read about it in the documentation and all that. But HTML is pretty much covered, right? That introduction to HTML course, that was a really good grounding in HTML. I plan to spend about the same amount of time on this CSS course. Maybe there'll be 5 hours of videos introducing CSS, maybe not even that many. But that's going to cover a far smaller sliver of CSS. CSS is it's large and complicated and hard. Okay, but the basics are easy, and I want to introduce it to you. Okay, so what is CSS then? Introduction to CSS for developers. CSS is cascading style sheets. Style sheets, meaning that this is where style comes from. We talked in the HTML course about how HTML was about structure. This is a heading, this is a paragraph, this is a list, and that sort of thing. CSS is all about the look and feel of things, how things look, and how they feel. So especially colors, including gradients, typography, is it bold? Is it, what's the font face that it's using? How many, how tall are the letters? How much space is there between the lines? All of that stuff. Anything typographical you do with CSS. You don't do that stuff with HTML. For the most part. In HTML, you can declare that something is subscript, and it'll make the little thing go down and be a little tiny number below the baseline of the type. Calling something a subscript is structural, but changing the font of all your headings, that's just typography. So that's what we do in CSS. Boxes, including boxes, borders, margins, padding, corners, and transformations, like if something moves. Layout, you do layout with CSS, transitions, etc. That's Latin for and, etc. During this course, I want to make less than 5 hours of videos introducing the basics. I want beginning developers, that's you guys, to spend about 10 hours total playing with CSS before moving on to JavaScript. And I don't think you'll ever regret that. There are a lot of things in CSS that are really useful when you're learning JavaScript. So just 5 or 10 hours, that's like, maybe a week of studying in your spare time, a couple hours a day. And then we'll move on and we'll do the basics of JavaScript and the basics of back-end programming and the basics of databases to get that thin slice through our entire developer stack as an introduction, as an on-ramp to development. That'll give you a taste for it, a broad overview. You'll know whether you like it, and you'll decide from there where you want to go next. It's going to be awesome. Okay, so that's what Developer On-Ramp is. That's what we're going to cover in the class roughly. Now, you know what? I might not actually get to all of this, but after 5 hours of basic CSS introduction, you'll definitely know the basics of what CSS is about and how to use it. Thank you.